thank Marcus for joining us. We're going to take mostly questions from here in the room. If we have some time, we'll take questions on the Zoom, but we'll start here in the room. Levi.
So you were the player rep for the Rangers during the lockout, is that correct?
No, I was on the executive subcommittee, or still am, but in my time with Oakland, I was a player rep, but now just a subcommittee.
Sorry to start with questions about this, when it's, we're actually starting workouts, but I was just curious, that process for you, I know the subcommittee voted unanimously one way, and then the players voted to move forward. I was just curious if kind of what that process was like for you as it came to an end.
Yeah, I mean, we were in a labor fight at this point. At this far along in the process, when you're getting into spring training, it starts to become a pretty big dispute over some key issues. And you look at the subcommittee, I think all of us have gone through the reserve system, free agency, except, Lindor signed before free agency, but we've seen the ups and downs of the system, and there's things that, we wanted to change, but, we are all happy to be playing baseball, and that's the bottom line.
That's where I want to go next. Like, how quick of a sort of head turn was it? Like, you've been locked in this labor fight forever, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, let's go get to Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, logistically not the easiest thing, but at the end of the day, it's our livelihoods. It's what we do, and everybody's situation's different. For me, 3 kids, my wife, we all wanted to be together, for this time. So just getting out here and getting situated was not the ideal travel, but we got here, and I'm happy to be doing what I love to do.
Evan?
Hey, Marcus. In talking with John Daniels earlier, he said it almost was like fantasy baseball because you guys signed and then it was like had to put it away and you weren't real. So what was it like for you and Corey today to actually be in the room, be together, be on the field together? I saw you guys working a lot together too. Just what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be attached at the hip, for the entire camp and all year. That's my middle infield partner. We're both going to be leaders on this ball club for years to come. So just getting to know him a little bit more. We've been talking this off season through text, and just I'm excited. We've got a lot of years ahead of us to learn each other, and whatever over this 7 and 10 years, I think there's going to be a lot more players coming that will join us.
Just to follow one other thing, it's not so much labor, but I know that during this situation, you were keeping a lot of these guys informed because you were on the subcommittee. So how strange was it to be meeting your teammates basically via text and phone to tell them about labor situations?
Yeah, it's different. I was in contact with 3 teams. Of course, I'm still close with the Oakland guys. I just came from Toronto, and now the Rangers. So in the in the off season before we moved to Texas, I had been working out with Willie Calhoun a lot in California. He's another Bay Area guy. So I asked him to just kind of put me in the group text with the Rangers guys, and I know it's not the best introduction to meet on group text, but I just kind of shared what we've been going through with this union stuff, and the Rangers it's a group that is still learning about all the different nuances of the CBA. Most of them are 0 to 3 guys.
Sure.
0 to 3 year service. There's different issues in the CBA that you may focus more on that you haven't learned about the other ones. So just trying to inform guys of what's ahead of them was a big task for me.
Kennedy.
Going off of Evan's first question, what was that 24 hours, I guess, like when you guys were signed, introduced, all of that, and then all of a sudden, 8 p.m., lockout?
Yeah, it was not ideal, just with not being able to communicate with Woody this offseason and the hitting coaches. They're new too. Tim and Donnie are new too, so not being able to communicate with the hitting coaches when usually you talk all off season. Hey, what are you doing? What have you been working on? Send me some video. But we had to do it that way this year, and hopefully next time it goes a little smoother.
Were you in California the entire offseason?
We moved in January to Texas, so actually when the deal got done, the CBA deal, we were on our way because it was spring break in Texas. We were going to spend some time in Oakland, not really knowing what was going to happen with the CBA, but we were ready. I brought my baseball stuff just in case, and we came straight to Arizona from there.
So you were in Oakland at that point in time?
Yeah, we came here from Oakland.
Okay.
It was spring break, and you have to think about it. The day before, the league had announced that more games were canceled. So as a player, unless they called back the next morning, which they did, maybe it was going to take a little longer. That's what I thought, and we went to Oakland, but we were ready either way.
Andy?
On the labor front, what do you think the union should do across these next 5 years to be in a position to further on some of the gains you made in this last round of bargaining?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things we can do. I think that the communication that we had, not just in the last couple months, but the entire year and the years before, just guys understanding what's ahead of us, and that's going to be key for us, and we're getting better at that. I think that it's going to take guys like me talking to my clubhouse and guys around the league about what's important to us, what we want to accomplish, what we should fight for, just paying attention to the new revenues that are coming into the league, and how, what is our work worth to the owners.
And just for the sake of clarity, I guess, why did you decide to vote against the proposal that was eventually finalized?
Well, it's like I said, we were a group of guys that have been through the system and wanted to make improvements in certain areas, and that's what it came down to. And it's a tough spot because we're talking about missing however many games to fight for what we think is fair, and that's what it came down to. And at the end of the day, no union call is going to be perfect or pretty or everybody agreeing about every single topic. We have over 1,200 players in our membership, and new players, veteran players, middle class, arbitration. There's different things that guys believe should be improved, but you're not going to fix everything in one go. But as long as you're making progress and working towards that, that's the most important thing.
Where exactly do you think you guys need to find improvements or can improve? What about the CBA do you think needs to improve?
Well, if you ask me, it may be different than other people, but I think everything needs. We're fighting for a minimum salary that a higher minimum salary that is the lowest out of all the professional sports. I'm pretty sure. We're fighting for young players, getting closer to what their market value is. When I say young players, the 3 to 6 group, they get to negotiate, maybe take their contract to a salary arb hearing and get closer to what they're worth. So having the ability to do that is, gives them, closer to what their market value, which when you get to free agency, guys aren't seeing their market value either because not every team is participating. Teams may be trying to get draft picks and not, spend on players. You call it tanking or whatever you want to call it, but there's so many different things that I would love to see improvement on, and I think we made some progress.
Chris?
How much did you let your mind go to, you had the press conference the last day, and then you guys are locked out the next day. How much did you let your mind go to what exactly you and Corey and the impact you're going to have on this team? How much did you let your mind go to that idea while you were also trying to balance, the labor dispute?
Yeah, that was in my mind the whole time. I think that, mean, I was on so many union calls during that time from when we signed, even before. You know, I was in Dallas for the meetings. We were on calls all the time. And just thinking about what we can build here in Texas was always on my mind. You know, Corey Seager is one of my favorite players. If I'm a fan of the game, I watch all the teams play, and I'm just a huge fan of his. So now to be able to play with him, learn from him, you know, win baseball games with him, I can't wait.
You talked about your first introduction to a lot of the players being, you know, in those group texts and everything like that. How much did you balance, you know, updating them on the labor situation, but also trying to also get across, like, okay, this is where this team is going from here, and trying to establish that leadership that you weren't quite able to do under normal circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that will start now. A little bit of, you know, what I shared with them, you know, most of it was union stuff, and I kind of shared what, you know, why, you know, you asked about the subcommittee before, you know, why we felt this way or whatever, and just, you know, I want them to have a better, you know, system as they get to their free agency, and that's what I was, you know, expressing to them was we want to make the system better for you guys, and that was most of it. You know, when we talk baseball stuff, that'll be done now.
You've talked in the past about just like the idea of how it might be important to get to arbitration sooner, or get to free agency sooner, all those sorts of things. Was in this process, was it like jarring at all to see how resistant the other side would be to any sort of structural changes like that?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think that the best free agents are the youngest free agents. You know, the most appealing to these teams. That tells you right there what we should be fighting for. And for me as a 31-year-old to be able to find a place to play for 7 years, I think it's more rare now. But hopefully teams start to realize that guys who get above 30, you know, they bring not only talent, but they bring experience and leadership, and those things can win ball games too.
Levi.
You talked about this a little bit earlier, but you know, with Donnie and Tim not getting that regular off season, how have those conversations gone since you've gotten to Arizona, or is it still TBA?
No, yeah, we were talking last night. You know, Donnie and I, just about, you know, things that I've done in the past, what I like to see in the dugout, scouting reports, it's stuff that I love talking about, and I'm so happy that we get to have these conversations and get back into the normal routine of a big league season. It's something that I love. You know, I think this will be my 8th full season in the big leagues, and I've loved every single moment of it, just learning. And once you have some success and get some confidence, it makes it even more fun.
What can you tell us about, or maybe just your impressions of the meeting that the team had today at 10?
Oh man, I'm very impressed with Woody. You know, I was impressed with him during the free agency process. CY, you know, a guy that I played against, and just kind of seeing this side of him, and you know how bright he is and eager to turn this organization around is something that I was impressed with. All the staff seems ready and very organized, and you know, I know it was a tough couple of days for them because, you know, the season just started like that, and so logistically it's been tough, but everybody's been ready for the task.
You mentioned that Corey's been one of your favorite players. A lot of great players in the league. What sticks out about Corey? One of your favorites?
Yeah, I mean, he just makes the game look so easy, and it's not an easy game. He's been a stud since day one. He went into, you know, an organization, the Dodgers. He's had success, won a lot of ball games, and he stayed cool through it all. And I played with him in 2013 a little bit in the fall league. He was a young kid, but same guy, just super cool, not afraid of the big moment, and he's gonna do well here.
Evan.
So did you and Corey have any actual baseball, just one-on-one baseball conversations between the time you both signed on that Wednesday and spring training?
It was kind of hectic when we signed. We actually we were able to grab dinner that night.
That night.
With our families, but it, kind of hectic, and most of our conversations about what we want to do here have been in the last couple days, I would say. I think that the union stuff was just just taking over all of our conversations and what's going on. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Where are we at? And we didn't even get to talk about what we want to accomplish here during the off season this year.
And I mean, I think you just said this, in some regard, that you had this kind of conversation with Donnie, but given the way the last 3 months have taken place and that you are in a new place, how much more excited about actually having those conversations about what you can build here and what you can establish do you find yourself?
Yeah, very. I mean, we showed up here when we showed up, but you also have to remember I played in the AL West for 6 years, and I'm very familiar with this division, and I'm really happy to be, in a beautiful place to show up for home games every day in a division that I'm used to, and so far the hitting coaches have been great. We can get all our work in. There's new things every year for players to learn from new coaches, so I can't wait.
All right, we're going to take these 2 questions from the Zoom, and then we're going to pause the Zoom portion. So Jeff Wilson, go ahead.
Hey, Marcus, thanks for doing this. The signings of you and Corey really raised expectations on a team that hasn't had any expectations for a while. How do you convey to the younger players, like, hey, it's time to go, it's time to win, and how do guys learn how to win?
Well, yeah, it's a complex question. I think that nothing happens overnight. My thing has always been just be the best version of yourself, and a lot of the guys in this clubhouse are early in they're just young. It's early in their careers, and they haven't gone through this failure yet personally to learn from the mistakes. And I was on some teams in Oakland where I think we had 3 years of last place and just learning from the mistakes and understanding, okay, this is what we should have done better, and then having it click for 3 years after that, going to the playoffs and winning a lot of ball games. It just takes time. But I think that there's things that myself, Corey, Cole Calhoun, the veteran guys can say to young guys to accelerate that process, and I'm excited about that.
Since you brought up Oakland, they traded Matt Olson today, Chris Bassett yesterday. Does it hurt to see it? Does it hurt you to see them doing that?
Yeah, I mean, Oakland has some talent, and you look at Matt Olson, he's got 2 more years of team control, so that's a huge grab for Atlanta. He gets to go to his hometown in Atlanta and play on the defending world championship team, so I'm happy for Ole. It's a tough day for an Oakland A fan, I would say, but with Bassett, he's a guy I played with in the minor leagues in Chicago and was traded to Oakland. He spent more time in Oakland than I did. He's been there forever, and he is the leader of that pitching staff, so it's a tough loss for them. And he had a monster year last year, so he's going to do well in New York.
Thank you, Marcus.
CJ.
Hey, Marcus, wanted to ask you about your season last runs. You hit the ball in the air more than any other year in your career. Let's stay right around your career average. Usually guys go in the other direction, right? More home runs, usually more strikeouts. Well, year that allowed you to put up those kind of contact numbers with the home runs, with the ball, but not striking out very often.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I hit the fastball really well, and a lot of pitchers throw the ball or are throwing the ball up in the zone to get swing and misses. So my biggest thing I wanted to work on last year was connecting with that fastball up, because you don't have to do as much to get it in the air, and it'll go. I think that if you compare my last 2 full seasons, 2019, 2021, I was more happy with my plate discipline in 19 than 21, but I was more happy with my, slugging in 2021. So every year is going to be different, but you just want to improve on all aspects of it.
And then you rejected the qualifying offer in 2020. I believe that experience was part of the conversations that you had with guys get in the way of your free agency, do you think, 21 in the offseason, and how big of a deal was it to you with the latest CBA?
Yeah, I think I heard you correctly. It's kind of cutting in and out, but with the qualifying offer affecting my free agent market, I believe you asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that can hurt you. I mean, draft picks are very important to these ball clubs. That's the bottom line. So during the labor negotiations, that came up a lot, where we're talking about teams that want to sign an elite free agent, and if they go over the CBT, they lose another pick possibly. That's 2 picks, so it can hurt your market. But I mean, at the end of the day, my family and I are extremely blessed and so happy to get going here in Texas.
Great, thank you.
All right, we're going